this very special Diwali show on Mirror Now. All of us love buying jewelry and gold during the festive season. But on today's show, we're going to tell you everything that you need to know about actually investing in the yellow metal. But first, let's go shopping. We first headed to Mahesh Notandas in Bandra to find out what kind of festive demand have they seen this year. Hi Mahesh.
Hi.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thanks.
So let's start with talking about the kind of demand that this festive season that you're seeing. Of course, we're still going into the festive season, but what's been the kind of demand that you're seeing from consumers this time round, especially if you're comparing it to previous years?
Compared to previous years, it was little bit affected,
Okay.
at least 10-20%. But since last week, after Dasara also, things have started moving up,
Okay.
and the demand is coming up great now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of demand do you expect, or how much do you expect to pick it up going forward into the next few weeks into the wedding season really?
Yeah, because after this now, since
Exactly.
September, October, Diwali, then wedding season, till Jan, Feb, we see a really good demand for occasions. This is the whole main season for the jewelry business.
Right.
It started already from Dasara. Hopefully it's picked up
Okay.
and should be stable
Okay.
in the next few months.
Okay. And in terms of gold prices, how have gold prices moved?
Gold prices have been quite stable since last couple of months, and we don't really see any such reason for it unnecessarily just going high a lot. It will be stable at this price around 30,000 or so for 24 carat.
Okay, so even going forward, you expect
Yeah,
more or less
yeah.
to be maintained.
Yes.
Right. Can you tell us something about the Diwali collections that you
Yeah, a lot of Diwali
launched
collection
this
we
time?
are prepared for. Basically more trendy and more lighter pieces also, because of course the wedding season starts from November, December,
Yes.
but Diwali basically people want to, as for the shagun, keep buying. A lot of small products like bracelets and charms have been introduced for those people.
Okay. And going forward, any new collections, what else can we really expect?
We always keep working on the new trends and collection. Every month, every 2 months, there's a new collection launched. Our designer teams keep developing whatever the new trends are, local and internationally also.
Okay.
And new collections keep on adding up every as and when.
And one final question in terms of consumer preferences, any particular trends that you may have noticed with regard to how consumers' attitude toward buying jewelry or buying
Yeah,
gold?
it's more classic jewelry now, which is never outdated, and more lighter and more wearable jewelry, like a day-to-day woman can also wear for her work also. That is what is mainly now.
Okay.
People are, unless it's a wedding in the family, then of course
Right.
the demand goes for a little bigger pieces.
Right.
But otherwise it's a regular jewelry, wearable jewelry, diamond jewelry also, which is more wearable day-to-day.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We then spoke to Sachin Jain of Forever Mark to understand the diamond market in India. Joining me now is President of Forever Mark, Sachin Jain. Thank you very much, Sachin, and we're going to talk today all about diamonds.
Thanks for getting me on.
All right, so my first question to you is, a diamond is forever. That's one of the most commonly used phrases. If you can just explain to our viewers what that actually means, because I don't think anybody really knows what that means.
Well, when you hear a diamond is forever or Hira hai sada ke liye, it holds, it's not just any other slogan. It holds a fundamental truth that diamonds have been around forever and ever. The youngest diamond we mined at De Beers is 1 billion years old. We also mine diamonds which are 3 billion years old. So when you look at dinosaurs, they are like babies, And when I was telling you, when you look at the finger that you're wearing on your, that ring that you're wearing on your finger, and the diamond, you truly are a part of history, because that diamond is certainly older than Mount Everest.
Wow. All right. Now, when the festive season, Diwali time, a lot of people, of course, come to buy jewelry, be gold, diamonds. What do you see in terms of consumer trends towards between gold and diamonds? How do you see consumers?
Well, I think festive time has been a very important time for us as an industry to be a part of consumers' lives. Earlier, I've seen certainly a trend that I see is moving from just value investment to also what you like to wear, what you like to accessorize. And from a trend, what I see is that when I look at someone like you, who's also is a person who is running your home, running your office, dropping your kids to school. So it's a multifaceted life women are leading today. And I see a sense of simplicity that's certainly emerging. We'd like to accessorize on where you can perhaps do all these juggling jobs together. So I see a simplicity coming in. I certainly see a trend where consumers want to buy pieces that they can wear 365 days than keeping them in the locker for 365 days. So I think that's the sort of trend I see. diamonds are falling in a very important part of consumer consumption now, because there is a meaningfulness in diamonds, not just sort of wealth, and which is important. It holds wealth, but there's also meaningfulness, and every diamond is unique, it's rare, and resonates well to those unique emotions and the way you look at it.
Tell us something about the prices of diamonds in terms of how has it moved over the past some time.
Well, it's been over the years we've seen, unlike gold, which two gold bricks or bars could be exactly same.
Right.
In diamonds, every two diamonds are different. Every diamond is unique, and every diamond has its own unique history. Hence, the value also changes. And so we do have what we call grading certificates, by which there is an assessment of the value. Over the years, we've seen steady growth in the value of diamond, and that's a whole of wealth. But when we as an organization talk about diamonds, we really say that use diamonds like you enjoy wearing them, you enjoy sort of celebrating some occasion, and also it stores wealth. So it's not purely to say I'm going to buy diamonds to only investment. So it's a combination.
Right. So you spoke about the certificates and the kind of diamonds in every two diamonds are different. No two diamonds are the same. Explain to our viewers a little bit more in terms of what is the importance of having a certificate, what are the different kinds of qualities of diamonds, and how one should, while purchasing, understand these various facets.
I think every diamond is unique, every diamond is special. At Forevermark, what we do is that we bring in what we call a promise to the consumer, that every diamond comes with 3 promises: that they're beautiful, they're rare, and they're responsibly sourced. To give you a perspective of rarity, I mean, we say diamonds are rare. If I were to ask you to visualize, and your audience to visualize a double-decker bus of Bombay City, every single diamond ever mined in the history of humanity will fit into that one double-decker bus with a lot of room to spare. And Forevermark is 1% of those diamonds. So it's very, it's very selective, and grading as a platform is where you really know the value of the diamond. There are a lot of labs in the world that do gradings, and they have different standards. At Forevermark, we think every diamond needs a small 10-pointer that goes out. It carries 129 years of the De Beers legacy on the diamond, and our name is attached with it. So we put a lot of emphasis on the standards of grading, and we moved from just a subjective grading to a lot of technological driven grading. So we have the finest equipment that goes through. Every diamond is inspected in our labs a minimum of 5 times to put a certain grade or of color, clarity, and whatever, of beauty. And I think I would encourage consumers to buy where they're confident of, encourage consumers to buy standard gradings which are acceptable all over the world, where you show that what you're buying is not different than any other part of the world.
So another question that often gets asked in terms of resale of diamonds. So especially a lot of consumers want to know that what is the value, and they look at it more than just buying it for the purpose of wearing, that it's security, and in the future if I ever need money I can perhaps sell it and get money. So how should one, what would your advice be, or what would you say for people who want to know more about how to perhaps sell diamonds in the resale market?
Well, I think India is a very unique market here, because in terms of diamond sales and jewelry sales, we normally in any store when you go, you can always ask for that. It's not just so much of retail price driven, and there's the people who give breakups. And I think almost every established retailer has a return policy, which secures you already in your mind as to what this is. So I think as a category, it diminishes the scare you would have that I'll lose well, because you won't, because partners like Mahesh Nimdas, where we work, we take a lot of pride in partnering with the best retailers in India, and almost all have very established return policies, upgrade policies, and so on. So I don't think there's an issue to worry there. If I were to compare this to let's say a Western market like the US, where there is nothing called return. I mean, when you get a return, you get like a very small value back, which is where I'll be a little bit concerned. And I think generally in India, most of the established retailers, give you value, and they stand behind that value. And at Forevermark, we work with the best retailers where they're certain of what they're giving to the consumer, they can stand behind it. This is one very big example where I'm standing right now at Mahesh Nimdas, that over the years, they've stood for their integrity, they've stood for what value they give to the consumer, and they're always there to help the consumer come, upgrade, change, exchange, and so on and so forth.
And what would be your some 3 or 4 important points that a buyer should be aware about or should ensure before buying diamonds, be it from anywhere?
Well, I think from diamond's point of view, I think, as I said, every diamond is unique. I would not worry about so much so about. At times people say, buy it on a paper, and the paper says a certain color, a certain clarity, or whatever. So two diamonds with perhaps the same color clarity might not be as beautiful. Yeah, so that's a very important aspect. So I would say that come to the floor, look at your diamond. Your diamond will talk to you. You know that sparkle will be your, and you will be for your sparkle. And so it's about buying beautiful diamonds. At Foremark, we also ensure that the integrity of the diamond is maintained. So we, when we say responsibility source, then which means that every step, right from the mine to your finger, is being responsibly done. It has helped somebody's life. So at some stage, when you look at that ring, when you're wearing it every day, you'll feel good in your heart if it's done good for someone else. So that's what I would advise.
Right. I would like to tell us something about the Diwali collection.
Oh, absolutely. So the Foremark collection is doing quite well right now, and what we try to do is that we bring in a lot of meaningful pieces that have a meaning in design for our consumers. So I'd like to show you maybe one of our designs. This is called the commitment collection.
Right.
It's basically a sort of commitment that two human beings make to one another, and that's to the heart, mind and soul. That is represented here by three different shapes of diamonds with three different shapes, three different colors of gold. So it's really a commitment of heart, mind and soul that two individuals make. So a little meaning behind a design. We also have, I can tell you about, if you see this design, which is called Encodia, it's like a love knot. So you might have seen this sort of a knot which is unbreakable, and ships are anchored with this knot. So it's an unbreakable love knot which is held by a diamond. So a very meaningfulness, and we see a lot of young consumers in particular who want to buy meaning, not necessarily anything. So we see a lot of meaningfulness, and most of the Foremark collection is focused on that.
Right. And finally, as far as this festive season is concerned, how are you seeing the demand for jewelry per se?
Well, actually, it's been a very strong year. Although we heard so much, issues around the industry and so on and so forth. I think as an industry, we've welcomed government's move on the GST. I think with the numbers that finally came on was applicable, it was welcomed from the industry. And I think as an industry, everybody is willing to shoulder or partner on the growth of India. So that's from industry perspective, and I think from consumer demand perspective, we've seen some sort of waves of up and down. But I think generally we are very positive that it's going to be a very good Diwali. We're looking forward. All the jewelers have worked very hard in terms of creating some beautiful products, meaningful products, and we are ready. Yeah, I'm very hopeful.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We then headed to Anmol Jewellers and took a look at some exquisite pieces. Hi Ishu, thanks so much for talking to us. My first question to you is in terms of the festive demand that usually happens around this time going into the wedding season. How has it been this year so far, especially if you compare it to the previous years?
So it has started a little late, but it has started. I feel post Dasera, in fact starting from Dasera itself, we've seen a pretty good movement. In fact, it was a little surprising.
So what do you believe are the main reasons why demand was slightly damp?
I think, so the whole history for us, starting from the excise issue, excise we lost out because, a lot of jewelers were shut. Post that, there was the IDS where people wanted to set their books in order. And then, of course, the famous demonetization. So I think all that took a toll, and also there has been a general slowdown in terms of the economy. So obviously, today everybody is so interdependent that unless and until you do well, I cannot do well. And jewelry is something which, is more a luxury, the kind of jewelry that we do specially. So, it takes its time.
So basically you're saying that there has been a significant, at least up until now, the demand was, took a toll on the demand.
Yes.
Okay.
True.
Okay. All right. Now going forward, now that you're saying that you're seeing demand slowly picking up, how do you see it panning out in terms of from Diwali going into the wedding season as well?
I am very optimistic about it. The major reason being pent up demand. See, last year, post the demonetization, there was a sudden break. I mean, usually it's a slowdown. You will gradually see business going down. It's not like day one and day two, but last year it was literally like that. On 7th November or 8th November, the situation was different. 9th November, you came in, it's like a ghost town. So, because there's been such a, drying up of demand, and gradually now that things are looking normal, people are understanding GST, people are now coming to terms with it. And when I say GST, I don't really mean GST in terms of the jewelry industry, but in their own industry, because ultimately the buyers are mainly, business people. So once they are sorted with their finances is when, the outflow will come to us.
Right, right. Now, in terms of the way consumers have been approaching jewelry buying, be it gold, diamonds, any kind of specific trends that you're noticing, change in consumer preferences or attitude towards jewelry?
Yes. So, the change of consumers towards jewelry is not like a last year to this year phenomenon.
Right.
It's
gradual.
It's gradual.
Yeah.
So, like, I've been in this business now 31 years. The whole thought process has changed.
Right.
Okay. The younger generation, the way they buy jewelry is a lot different than the older generation.
Okay.
So earlier when we had the older generation, and it's also a lot of the reason being the way jewelry was sold to them. So it was an asset, and they would buy as if they were buying an asset, or they were buying something for investment.
Right.
So the first question would be, what is the return?
Exactly.
What are the labor charges? What will I lose?
What is the resale
Things like
value?
that.
Yes.
Yeah. Now with the younger generation coming in, they understand aesthetics. The thought process is different. The millennials are not living, for centuries in the mind. They know it's, so the whole, even the taste has changed because of that. And also the other reason being the exposure to the West. A, people are traveling more. B, thanks to the internet, television, everything is open. So you know what's happening in London today, what's happening in New York today. Yeah, earlier, for example, 15, 20 years back, it would take time for trends to come in because, people didn't know what was happening.
True.
Today, everybody knows on a real-time basis what's happening. So, yes.
Right. In terms of gold prices, what is your own assessment as to how it's going to move from here on?
So my assessment is that I'm a little bullish on the gold price. I don't see it going through the roof unless, the geopolitical situation, really escalates. Then yes, it can. But there is a more bullish trend. Yes.
All right.
That's my opinion.
All right. And as far as diamonds specifically are concerned, how has the response been to, diamond jewelry specifically if you were to compare it to gold?
See, we are more a diamond-centric jeweler.
Okay.
So, although we do have a good variety of gold and we do a lot of gold, in terms of value, our diamonds take predominance.
Okay.
And we see a very good market. People are also realizing now the kind of finish that we're doing. So, earlier people who traveled overseas would come back and say, but listen, the way they make it, you guys cannot. But today, we have bridged that gap. Yes, so, the workmanship is good. We're paying attention to the smaller details in terms of the finish, the flexibility and things like that. The designing has improved tremendously. So, we're ready, in fact, for the world. Not only in terms of selling to our local clients, but we do have people coming from overseas and buying from us because we are a lot less expensive than when they're buying, in their own country.
Right. Okay. Tell us a little bit about the Diwali collections that you've launched and this beautiful collection right here.
Sure. So, our focus this time is more on the classic design, not classic design. But when we say classic, there's a twist. It's not a boring classic. There's a twist to the classic. Yeah. So, for example, even the jhumkas that you're wearing, it's jhumkas are a age-old traditional design, but the way it has been treated makes it so different. So we've used pink diamonds, all the set in pink gold, and then all forever marked diamonds. So all those forever marked diamonds and the way they've been set, they really stand out. Similarly, whatever designs we do, even though they're classic, there is that little twist that makes it very interesting and unusual. Also, what it helps with this design is it's more long term.
Right.
You're not bored of this design 5 years later or 10 years later.
Right.
It's something you can wear forever.
And these wonderful jhumkas that you kindly allowed me to wear for this interview. If you can tell us a little bit, because it's a one-of-a-kind piece that's been designed by Manish Malhotra, I understand.
Yes. So Manish and I did this together.
Okay.
Manish is an old friend, and so we thought, this would be a good idea to kind of, the synergies are there in terms of the design. And so he started sketching, and if you see his sketches from what he started to where we finally ended, it went through a lot of changes, and and finally, of course, our technical knowledge and literally engineering the way this has been made helped and brought this piece alive. I think it's a brilliant piece of work.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Isha, for joining us.
Thank you.
So we're done with all the Diwali jewelry shopping, but on the other side of this break, we'll tell you the different ways that you can invest in gold. Stay tuned. Aside from jewelry, many people use the auspicious occasion of Diwali and Dhanteras to buy gold as an investment. Certified financial planner Gaurav Mashruwala says there is a significant increase in buyers opting for the yellow metal in various forms during this time.
It's also because jewelers have lucrative offers, their shops are decorated and they give away certain waivers and all. Also, immediately after this is a marriage season starting.
But one crucial point to remember is that buying gold jewelry does not mean that you have invested in gold. Both are completely different and should not be mixed.
Please keep in mind that when it comes to gold or jewelry or for that matter diamonds or whatever it is, one is for self-consumption, which is perfectly fine. That's not your investments. Second is for investments, and that need not be in jewelry form, because then there will be this mental hurdle of liquidating it, breaking it, whatever. So don't mix the two. For investments, there are different investment products, and for jewelry, there are loads of options.
So what are the advantages of investing in gold, and how much of your portfolio should actually be allocated to the yellow metal?
Gold has its own path, so it's not exactly investment, so acts as a balancing factor, and hence to balance it out, typically about 8 to 10% of your portfolio into gold, not jewelry. Gold in form of investment should be there.
There are several ways that one can invest in gold: physical gold, gold ETFs, or sovereign gold bonds.
Depending on your need, are you going to use it later on, then pick up physical gold? If you are just looking at higher liquidity but no tax benefit, gold ETF is an option. However, wait for some time, look at gold bonds, because they will give you same kind of liquidity but with tax benefit also and safety of top.
Buying physical gold also attracts GST, and that can be avoided if one opts for gold bonds.
Physical gold will definitely have GST. There won't be any indirect tax as far as gold bonds are concerned, because it's not a buy. It's like, yes, it's not being sold physical through shops. So the investment that happens, whatever money you've given will straight away be purchased in terms of units or grams.
Between gold bonds and ETFs, Gaurav recommends investing in bonds.
Unless you really are looking at liquidity, which at this point of time ETF is more, but I'm more happy because most people buy gold from long-term perspective, and hence to earn 2.5% return and no capital gains tax is a better option right now.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this Diwali special show. Hope you enjoyed it, and we've given you some good ideas of what jewelry you